There you go.
I second that. Okay.
Okay, everyone. All right, it looks like we've got some people joining. We're a little early, so we're going to have friends, visitors from everywhere, hopefully from everywhere, joining throughout these last few minutes before the top of the hour. And I, this week, am your friendly mixologist. I am pink with pride because it's Texas, but it's also Pride Month. And in honor of that, and in honor of our usual mixologist, my dear brother-in-law, Alex, who can't be here, unfortunately, I am going to read out his recipe that he graciously gave us in honor of Texas. So he also wanted everyone to know that he chose this lighter and refreshing cocktail because it's so ungodly hot everywhere. He is living his best life right now in Lake Tahoe, following whatever the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills do. Okay, so everything is bigger in Texas is the name of our cocktail of the hour. It is inspired by an iconic drink, the Texas Buck. This version adds a little spice from some Angostura bitters. Am I saying that correctly? I don't know. And a refreshing note from some mint. So since it's Texas theme, we are going to serve it in a tall glass as opposed to the traditional copper mug. So what we will need, and hopefully some people got this in an email, but I'll just let you know in case you just want to fly by the seat of your pants, we need 2 ounces of Texas whiskey or any other type, 2 to 4 ounces of fresh lime juice, depending on your preference, 2 to 3 dashes of Angostura bitters, or something with a little spice, a sprig of fresh mint, ginger beer to top, lime wedge for garnish. Okay, so I happen to be sober. Another reason I'm not the best mixologist, but I'm going to make a version for all those who would like a mocktail, and I'll just explain what my substitute should be. All right, we are going to combine our whiskey, which I have right here, and this is just some soda water for the folks playing the mocktail version at home. And I'm putting that in my tall mug. And we are going to add our lime juice. We had one very sad lime in the house, but hey, you know, pandemic, right? Who cares anymore? Who cares about it? Lime. We've got that. Okay, bitters. We obviously didn't have bitters, but I love this. So we're big fans of Rancho Gordo in this house. I don't know if anyone else likes those beans. Gab, my partner, just got this. It's Rancho Gordo Gay Caballero hot sauce. Very fitting. We're going to add a couple of dashes of that. Maybe don't follow my lead. I don't know if this isn't what's intended, but that would have been 2 to 3 dashes of your Angostura bitters. Now he says a sprig of fresh mint. So we're going to add a few mint leaves. This is all going into a shaker, which again, I don't have. This is actually fresh from our garden. Another pandemic thing we tried out. We planted things. It's lovely to have some fresh mint. We got that in there. And add ice to fill. Gab, my sous mixologist chef, is grabbing us some ice. Hence that sound.
On camera?
Yep. There we go. Oh, very good. And no shaker. So those at home, please shake. Oh, Don has his shaker out. Fantastic. I'm swirling. I'm using a chopstick. Pandemic, guys. Do you. 15 to 20 seconds. Sorry, this is probably a terrible sound for everyone. Anyway, we're going to live through it. All right, we're doing that until combined and chilled. We are meant to strain.
Yeah, we all
I'm
hold
doing
on,
this
hold
all-
on.
doing this all
is
terribly.
hilarious.
All right,
Use this.
yeah, that's something else. Oh yes, perfect. All right, look, strain. That kind of worked. All right, we're going. We just make use as we go along. We're going back from the days where we did imbibe, and this is going back into my cup. All right, we've got our little mixture here. And now I'm gonna add ginger beer to top off. He says enough to fill the glass. Will do, happily. This is looking mighty refreshing. And what else we got? We're gonna add another mint leaf, because why not? And a lime wedge to finish. Oh, you guys, look at this cute thing. People, Chandra, I love yours. Oh, Debbie's got a glass. Everyone's got a glass. This is wonderful. What time are we at? 5:01, you guys. It was actually perfect timing. Okay, have a sip. Thanks for this recipe, Alex. And let's start the show. All right. Everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is our inaugural Drinks for Democracy monthly event. We have the most incredible people joining us across the board. I mean, it's so exciting. We're here for Texas, everyone. And I just want to say that I am going to be your housekeeping friend and tell you that we just want to cover a few basic tidbits before we get going. So at the bottom of your Zoom screen is a chat button. Please click that to open up your chat window where the links will be posted throughout the event and you can always comment. So we're going to have our guests, obviously, and you'll definitely be wanting that open so you can put in any questions that you want to ask of them. And for anyone new to Zoom, it's a good idea to choose speaker view, make your Zoom full screen, and any questions for our guest speakers, please put them in the chat and write the word ask in capital letters before it so we can see them, because sometimes these chats run really fast. Okay, so now on to the good stuff. Make sure you have your drink and your digital or real checkbook next to you, because this is a fundraiser and we are going to have so much fun tonight that you won't want to miss a thing. Our goal is to raise $10,000 tonight. All right, that is the goal. So I'm not really sure where we are at this particular moment, but maybe I'll get an update. And I will also just tell you that we have a raffle item. And our raffle item, oh, Gab, do you mind pausing that for 1 second? Is this pair of Converse shoes that was a season gift for a show that I am on called Young Sheldon. And we thought this would be a very fitting prize because Young Sheldon is set in a fictional town in the great state of Texas. And so these Chucks feature our beautiful state of Texas, and they've got a little heart in there that happens to say YS4, just for season 4. And now what we were also going to do with these, and we just didn't really have time before things wrapped up, is I'm going to get all the cast to sign it. And we are going to auction these off. They, just so you know, they happen to be a men's 5, a woman's 7. They could be for wear. They could be for display. So that is going to be auctioned off tonight if you buy your raffle tickets. And on top of that, we are going to pick a winner tonight because these chucks are going to be raffled for like 3 of these events. But we're going to pick a winner tonight for anyone who buys a raffle ticket who is going to receive a Texas button, a Field Team 6 shirt, and will continue to be in the raffle for these chucks. All right. That's enough of that. On to the real thing. I am very happy to introduce my pop, the one and only Jeff Perry.
Hello, everybody. So, listen. Oh my God, thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Zoe and I started volunteering for Field Team 6, which Mr. Jason Berlin founded a few years back when the only real theft of an election happened, when Hillary Clinton lost, supposedly lost. Okay, we won't get into that right now, but Field Team 6's motto, you guys, is Register Democrats, Save the World. And by God, they've been doing the foot soldier work for over 4.5 years of that, and we couldn't be prouder or more honored to be trying to do our little bit as volunteers. Okay, we have many awesome guests, and I'm gonna start teasing their entrance. Okay, one of our awesome guests is an American actress, a dancer, a choreographer, a singer-songwriter, a director, a producer, a former member of the President's Committee of Arts and Humanities, nominated 20 times for Emmy Awards, winning 3 of them, 2 Tony Awards. She's a winner of Golden Globe Awards, has received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Relative moments ago, you guys, this icon was an honoree at the Kennedy Center Honors. You know her from Fame all the way to Grey's Anatomy as an executive producing director, Ms. Debbie Allen. Oh! Another amazing, awesome human from Texas, like Debbie, born in Houston. She started her theater career at the age of 5 with the Houston-based Theater Under the Stars. There have been amazing stops along the way, all of beautiful artistry. You know her, perhaps, as Dr. Bailey in what is now a 17-year crazy, unprecedented run on the amazing Grey's Anatomy. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause for Chandra Wilson.
How y'all doing? How y'all doing?
Good. Good. All right, ladies. We can talk about anything you want. We can talk about voter registration. We can talk about Texas. We can talk about showbiz. And audience, people are going to help me follow the chat if you have questions for our amazing Debbie and Chandra. Okay, I have a little question. I have a little question. Debbie, you might have to you unmuted. Hi, dear. Thank you for being
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
So happy to be here.
Wait a second. How long ago was it that you were in Washington? I assume you had to be there, right, Deb?
Yeah, I was just there not even 10 days, I guess 10 days ago.
About 10 days ago.
Celebration came on Sunday. And the week before that is when we had several nights together. It was very grand. It was truly grand. It was lovely.
Oh,
it was so nice. And the class that I'm in was so great with Dick Van Dyke, Joan Baez, Garth Brooks, Midori. It was really a lot of fun just being with them because of COVID. It was more intimate because we usually, every event you have like hundreds of people around you, but this time it was very intimate. And so we spent a lot of time together, got to know each other, laughed a lot, had a great time with President Biden. he was really, I
Wonderful.
think, happy to have some people in the White House. I think it was happy to have some company
Yeah.
outside of his staff. But he gave us cookies, showed us the pool. I didn't know they had that little beach pool back there, little golf thing. Think a lot of stuff up in that White House. It's the house. But it was lovely, and I'm still humbled by this honor and the level of respect that I've been receiving. It's just been tremendous.
Well, it's tremendously deserved.
Well deserved.
Yeah. Chandra and Debbie, listen, as daughters of Texas,
Third Ward, as a matter of fact.
Third
all
Ward.
right,
Third Ward, Houston.
all right. Stephanie, we can talk in any order that we want, but Stephanie is a Democratic expert and voting rights expert from Texas, but for Chandra and Debbie, you got any memories of the first time that you voted?
Wow. I know as part of my high school requirements, I had to work on a political campaign. And I remember doing that, like, going in and getting banners ready and, doing mailing lists. But I think I didn't vote until I was in New York.
Uh-huh.
Right? Yeah. Because I left for college. So the first time I voted was actually in New York, and I wouldn't necessarily think of myself as political either necessarily, but the times dictate that you have to pay attention and that there are consequences to being apathetic. So if anything, I'm learning that you have to be a part of what's happening. Otherwise, things will happen and you won't understand them at all. And basically, my whole theme for voting, my whole theme for being involved and paying attention is we have to do the right thing. We vote because it is the right thing. We register other people to vote because it is the right thing. We are involved in the political process because it is the right thing. And doing anything other than that, well, you end up with what we ended up with 4 years ago.
Right?
That's
I
about
know.
as political as I get.
Yeah. Debbie, how about you? Do you have a memory of first or early voting?
Well, I remember, you had to be 21,
Yeah.
and I was not in Texas, my home state. And there was not a lot of voting by mail, I think, at that time. I don't recall having a ballot that I could, check off. I think
Yeah.
the first time and Nixon was president. Nixon was president and won again. So there was a lot of drama going on
Yeah.
when it was time for me to start voting. I think the very first time I voted, it was when Gerald Ford was elected president.
Yeah.
After all the drama of Watergate.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So I came into it in a very political way. I went to Howard University, right in Washington, D.C. And so we were always infused with the politics, the Black caucus, and the whole rise of the Black Power movement when I was in college.
Yeah.
It was, Mary McKeeba, Stokely Carmichael, all of those people came to our campus and talked to us and rallied our intellectual mindset about what we needed to be thinking about. So it was a hot time. It was a time. It was a very it was a tough time too when we lost Dr. King. I was in college.
Yeah.
So it was a tough time. It was the politics were swerving all over the world, and we were definitely trying to get out of Vietnam when I was just in college, and that was a big mess. But I understood this because in Texas as a young kid, we were walking in protest for voting rights.
Yeah.
You know, that didn't come as timely as it probably should have. Lyndon Johnson really enacted the voter rights bill.
Yes.
He did, and there was just a lot of movement going on. Everybody was involved and very engaged, and I could hear the parents. I could remember hearing my parents and the grown-ups talking about, why they had to go and vote and try to not be suppressed, because in the South it could be very scary. It was scarier maybe even then than it is now.
Yeah.
Maybe so. I think maybe it was a little scarier then. I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah. No, I think when I try to compare, I'm old enough to have that when I try to compare eras, it's like the 60s were no joke, just as this part of the decade is no joke. It is challenging and fraught. And there are some absolutely beautiful breakthrough moments, but a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
Did you, Chandra and Debbie, did you have, was Juneteenth a thing for you
Yes.
guys growing
It
up?
was
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny to us that people don't know what it is.
Yeah.
exactly.
We've
Exactly.
always had Juneteenth. Um, the thing about it is that it was always over the summer because school was out, so
Yeah.
it was always a holiday, and that was barbecue day, and that was parade, especially through Third Ward over to, well, it's called, I think it's called Liberty Park now, but it was Emancipation Park.
Emancipation Park.
Yeah, and that there wasn't a year that I know of growing up that we didn't know what Juneteenth was and
Yeah.
why we were celebrating it, and it was a holiday.
Well, it was a holiday, but for me, growing up, it was the only day in the year where we could go to Playland Park, to the amusement park. It was the only day in the year that they would open certain venues to Black people. Otherwise, we were always segregated in our own neighborhood. We had two theaters, the Dowling and the Park Theater. There was one swimming pool that we called the Ink Well because it was all Black people. It was the only place we could go swim. Very few people had a private pool, but it was Juneteenth when they would open up a few restaurants, the park, and maybe a couple of hotels that allowed you to come with your kids and go swimming. It was one day a year that we got to do that. And it was also Felicia's birthday. So we
Wow.
always,
Double
yeah, we
celebrate.
always, yeah, so we understood it. And also, the fact that Lincoln signed it on January the 1st, but we didn't get it till June. And what
Well,
did it
2
really
years later.
do? Yeah, and how many people did it really free was the real question, because it was really the emancipation of Black people, the slaves who were in slave states. And even in some of those slave states, it protected a few counties. And it wasn't the northern states, it wasn't the Union states. Their slavery was still going on there. So it was really, in many ways, it's this incredible document that everybody was praying for. Frederick Douglass, everybody was praying, waiting to see was he going to sign it, because it had been on his desk for months. And they were trying to win a battle and trying to, the war was going on, trying to figure out where were they. And there's, a lot of different perspectives about the Emancipation Proclamation, because it never had the grand language of the Gettysburg Address or something like that. It was just kind of a dry document. It didn't have a passionate statement that it was making. I don't remember quoting the Emancipation Proclamation ever.
Right.
Right.
It's interesting,
Right.
but even though we I grew up with Juneteenth and knowing what it was, it's still, because school was out, it still wasn't taught necessarily in school. So it wasn't until I got to college and I took a Civil War and Reconstruction class in my senior year that we started talking about the Emancipation Proclamation and, the trouble that Lincoln had figuring out when to let it go and when to release it. And that it was 2 years later, a dude on a horse basically that took forever to get all the way down as far as Houston to let people know, oh, by the way, y'all are free.
Y'all are free. Jesus. Oh, we got to drink to the ancestors, honey. We got to drink to the ancestors on that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
But as I'm saying, it still wasn't taught, even though we knew what it was. It wasn't a part, that should have been a huge part of our history. It wasn't until I went to the National Heritage African American Museum in DC that I saw the plaques for Freedmanstown, which was in Houston, 4th Ward, Houston. Never knew that that was a thing. Never knew that that was this thriving, African American community where freed slaves went. Like, I drove through there all the time, going to dance class in the 70s. Like, had no idea the history of the space. So, man, it's interesting how something can get erased, or how history can get skewed if you don't repeat the stories. And that's one of the things that I've been learning lately, especially with Juneteenth coming up and coming out of Tulsa, is that you have to tell your stories. You have to tell your stories. You have to get them written. Otherwise, they disappear, or somebody else figures out a new narrative for it. You have to tell the stories.
yep. Yep. Have we got, I'm just checking in, have we got any questions for Debbie or Chandra?
We do.
Ask
There's
Debbie.
there's a question for both Chandra and Debbie. Did you come from political families, or did you come to it later?
Well, I grew up in the 60s. I'm a little bit older than Chandra. And she came up after a lot of things had happened. But let me just put it this way. Dr. Martin Luther King came and had dinner at our house in part of his passage through the South. And my stepmother was from Atlanta, Eleanor Hall was her original name. And she had been friends with him, and he came to the house and with all the people. And, my dad was really close with Vernon Jordan and all of these people. We just, it was normal for them to come in and out, and that there was politics, and that we were protesting and walking and, doing those protests. So I would say my mother, as an artist, there's no such thing as politics and art not merging. There was always politics involved for her, because there were always freedoms that were being marginalized, whether she could go here, she could go there, what she could do with her friends, or being stopped in a car because she was a Black person in a car with white people who were also artists, but there were issues about, what are you doing with them? Who are you? So the politics were not like right now, if you will, where, we're registering and we're responding to emails. This is a whole nother way of communicating. Then it was very grassroots, and everybody was involved in some kind of way, because it was going to affect everybody, whatever happened, and anything bad that happened. And I actually witnessed some bad things that happened as a child that children should not have to see. And racially motivated ugliness. So you had a sense of, am I going to be afraid, or am I going to stand up? And the answer was kind of both. You had to know when to stand up, and when to stand up on a platform with people, and it was a great time to be a kid. It was tough, but it was a great time.
it's kind of full circle in a way, because that I feel like that's where we are now, especially this younger generation. That really is where we are now. Because growing up in the '70s, I think that institutionally we were so busy like integrating and saying, "Oh, let's make everybody a part of this," just trying to move on, trying to move past, and that's kind of how we got lost. These past 25 years, everybody, everything's over. We're in a different time now. Let's just move, and we were ignoring like systemic things that were happening as a result of that we are very conscious of. Very Look, if this pandemic didn't teach us anything, didn't show us anything, it showed us how to pay attention. It showed us how to be still and listen. It showed us how to take stock. And if you have to get something good out of this mess that we've been through, that would kind of be it, to say, no, you have to be present. You have to be involved. We have to do it all together. There is a way to do it, even if we fundamentally think about things differently. I think we all come back to being human beings, right? And as long as there's a grain of empathy in there, as long as, especially in the artist community, we know how to step into other people's shoes. That's what we do. We make a living out of being in other people's shoes all the time. That empathy strand, runs through us. So not to be concerned about our neighbors, our friends, our family, that would be just the antithesis of artistry. All of that's coming, to light right now in, I hope, a really beautiful way. And when we stand up, taking it back to voting, and we show up, even the grand numbers that we showed up in this last election, that still wasn't everybody, right? So what if everybody did? Um, and I think that people are learning that to not go forward, we end up going backwards real quick, and we don't have time to go back. There's nothing to go back to. There's, like, today is the best we've been. We can only go forward. There's nothing back there that we need to grab. You know what I'm saying? So so that makes me hopeful for where we are right now, politically, because like I said, in the '70s, white kids were bused to my neighborhood to go to my school. So like they were the ones coming in instead of the other way around. And
Yeah.
there was always arts program. I went to a magnet elementary school. I was playing the violin from the time I was in kindergarten. Like the arts and integration was just a part of being a kid in the '70s. Um, so it'd be nice to have that. It'd be nice for people to appreciate what the arts does, to kids and their self-esteem. And it doesn't mean that you have to grow up to be a dancer or an actor, but it inspires creativity, and it
Mhm.
certainly levels the playing field with everybody that's in the room. It's not about what neighborhood you came from, or your ethnicity. You're all playing that instrument. You're all doing first position. you know it's something that binds us together in a very level way. I said a whole bunch of things. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
No, no, I'm loving. I'm just loving listening. I'm just loving listening. Hey, a little tiny little showbiz break. Are there any silly or downright even awful moments along the artistic path for you guys?
Of course, are you kidding?
Yeah, there's probably too many to think of. Um, I'll share one little example. When I first got to Los Angeles, you guys and dear audience, um, I grew up as a theater hippie, I guess, as part of an ensemble, and I did all theater, barely done any camera work, and I come to LA in my mid 30s, and one of my first auditions, a film studio executive. I'm in their office, and I've memorized my little two minutes, and I launch into it. This woman took 3 phone calls and ate a full sandwich while pretending that she was paying the least bit of attention to my audition. I still remember that one. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, do you have ones that stick with you?
Well, there's so many things from moments of embarrassment, moments of humiliation, or moments of it's just funny. I mean, there's so many things happen in the theater. What's so
Yeah.
great about being in New York in the theater? There's nothing like being in the theater. I mean, we did theater in Brooklyn. We did it at Woody King's New Federal Theater, the Public Theater, got to Broadway. I'll never forget one time I was on Broadway playing in Raisin. Joe Morton was my brother
Yeah.
for 2 years. And we were in that scene where Benita is going to Africa, and all of a sudden these imaginary dances came out of her head, and I'm just carrying on. Child, I went around like this. My wig flew into the audience, flew off my head into the audience, and it was like, oh my God, it was hilarious. And Felicia would have to be at that performance and see that mess. Oh God, it took forever to live that down. That was so.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
But the show went on, right? 'Cause that's
We
what-
kept going, child.
Yeah.
They gave it to me when I came off stage.
I did one of the with the was it no, it wasn't the first play I did in New York, but I did a play called The Good Times Are Killing Me, and I toward the end of the play, my character gets mad and is taken off and walking away, and we just had a small stage, but we did have a staircase that would lead upstairs to a platform, and then stairs would lead you back down to the stage. So in order for it to seem like Bonna's taken off, and I had to walk across the stage, go up the stairs, cross the platform, back down the other, and end up back at my porch. Well, I get mad at the little girl at the whatever this part was, and I stand up and twist my ankle. And I started walking on that thing, and it hurt. And those stairs, I had to get on those stairs. And I'm stomping and carrying on this twisted ankle. And I go up those stairs, walk back down, and I'm like kind of hopping.
Oh God.
Get to my mark for the last moment of the show, and we freeze, and I went on over there to that mark, and I couldn't put my foot. I could only put my toe on the ground. Like I'm gonna be in this moment mad with this
Pain.
jacked up ankle. We did the curtain call, and then that's when the pain came in. Like right after we finished the curtain call, and I had truly twisted that thing and went to St. Vincent's hospital, and
God
they had
bless you.
to wrap that thing up. But it's like your adrenaline's going, and you have to go, right? You have to
You have to
finish
keep
the
going.
show. You have to keep going.
Oh, you guys. Oh, I love these. Okay, we're gonna welcome in more people.
More
Let me
people.
remind everybody in the chat, you guys, we should hopefully have our secureactblue.com donate FT6 drinks in there, right? So that you can help us reach our goal. Field Team 6 does amazing work all across the country. And every dollar goes to the work. So if you've got $2, if you've got $5, if you got $10, if you got $20, if you've got $200,000, throw it in there. And you can also donate by check, and that is in there too. The www.fieldteam6.org donate by check. That should be in the chat too. Okay. Remember the raffle, the Chuck Taylor shoes that can be on display in a glass case that you create in your living room, or they can be on your feet. And okay, you guys, I'm going to introduce Gina, another Field Team 6 volunteer. And Gina is going to bring yet another awesome daughter of Texas to talk to us. Okay? Gina, is yours, baby.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I am so thankful that we got Stephanie Clark to join us tonight. And she started with the Democratic Party in Texas in 2020, and now she's the chief of staff there. So her background in politics, but also it seems like she's dabbled in some media and CBS radio and other entertainment. So I feel like Stephanie, you're going to be really, really good at controlling the Democratic narrative in Texas. And, I can't thank you enough for being here and helping turning Texas blue, because that's what we in California, we're determined to help you out. So thank you very much. And everyone, welcome Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
I was just wondering if you can tell us what is happening down in Texas, give us an overview, and Jason Berlin is going to follow up with some questions. And if anybody has questions, please ask in the chat, put ask and whatever question you have, and we will try to get to as many as we can.
Sure. Well, again, thank you for having me. And we really do appreciate you all's support. Just letting you all know, for those that maybe weren't clued in on what all we had to go through during our legislative session. We actually just in May wrapped up our 87th legislative session, which went from January to May 31st. And we had some atrocious bills that unfortunately got to the governor's desk for him to sign. But a major one that was actually a really big win for the Democratic Party was being able to shut down Senate Bill 7. Senate Bill 7 embedded in it with a lot of amendments, had a lot of blockades, which would make it even harder for people not only to register to vote, but to vote when it comes time for voting day. In 2020, Texas was considered a battleground state for the first time in decades, and the Republicans did everything in their power to hang on to power, if you want to call it that. Our Attorney General even bragged the other day about how he used his power to prevent Texans from voting by mail. Without him abusing his power in this way, Trump would have lost the state. Thank goodness we were able to get President Biden in the White House. But as far as the state is concerned, unfortunately, he did not win Texas, but we were able to still get a lot of other Democrats in office up and down the ballot. But also in 2020, Texas is one of the only 5 states that did not allow every voter to cast a ballot by mail. And how ridiculous is that in the middle of a pandemic? We only allowed people who fit a very small demographic to vote by mail. You had to be 65 and older. You had to have a disability or had to be out of the country to even be eligible to vote by mail. Texas Democrats have brought a lawsuit to allow all Texans this option so they could vote safely. We even asked the U.S. Supreme Court to help back us and to hear it, but unfortunately, due to the election times and requirements, was unable to be heard. But also in reference to SB 7, Senate Bill 7, the one that I was speaking to earlier about a lot of blockades and roadblocks that were going to be set up for us not to be able to vote or have a lot of mass voter registration. In the 9th hour, literally the 9th hour, when they had to take a final vote on the 3rd reading of Senate Bill 6, when it came over to the House, the majority of the Democrats did not show up. So they did not have quorum. So they couldn't vote on the bill. So they were able to kill, at least during the regular session, Senate Bill 7. Unfortunately, there have been talks of coming back for a special session because both the lieutenant governor and the governor want their bills passed. But we're still standing tall. We still have a plan of action that we're going to keep pushing forward and making sure we're ready if that time comes. But until then, last week, we just rolled out our voter registration plan, because how do we win Texas? By registering more voters. We've got a great plan rolled out for our voter registration plan, where we're just going to continue to push back. We realized that there were over 2 million Texans who were not registered to vote. So it is our job to make sure to get them registered. And by doing so, coming up with new inventive ways too. Obviously, we all spent the last year and a half being locked up in our homes, but you know what? We figured out the digital ads actually work. You know, when you're stuck on your computer the majority of the day and you see enough ads, it really does grab people's attention. But not only that, we're dealing with a whole generation for Generation Z that everything that they do is electronic. So we want to be able to reach those new voters. If they're just graduating from high school, or maybe this is their first election, or they're just becoming a citizen and having the right to vote, we want to make sure we reach them. So we're definitely going to be focusing on digital ads. Also, we have an apartment building plan rolled out because we also found that a lot of time voters, their registration gets lost when they move. So we're going to make sure to try to capture those, and also partnering with different apartment complexes as well as different rental companies that may be the parent company but own 5 or so different properties throughout the state, to make sure that we can partner with them to make sure we can capture those votes and make sure that people's addresses are up to date within the voter registration. Also, mailing out voter registration forms. A lot of times people don't necessarily go to voter registration jobs and they're like, well, how do I vote? I don't even know how to do so. So we're trying to make sure that we raise funds that we can have a mass, huge mail out campaign. Also, site-based voter registration tabbing. So that way you can just easily click on our website or other support websites with other partners to be able to register. And also doing door-to-door canvassing. Now that a lot of us are vaccinated and are slowly rolling back into our new normal, we still want to be able to have canvassers, because we do have, you may have some elderly people who may not be technologically advanced that are used to old school people knocking on the doors and really pushing the pavement and letting them know who's on the ballot and why they should vote for them. And then, of course, relational voter registration tools where folks really get their friends voting, because a lot of times the best person to help you register is someone you know, or someone in your family, or someone you work with. And it's as easy as you're sitting here like we're having cocktails today saying, hey, are you registered to vote? Did you vote last election? And also making sure they're registered to vote during the municipal elections as well, and not only during presidential years, making sure you vote in the primaries as well. So we're just really trying to push that to make sure every vote is counted, and hopefully that vote is for a Democratic candidate.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Jason, have you found some questions?
Yes, and I just want to say, what a beautiful, comprehensive, thoughtful, inspiring plan from the Texas Democratic Party. We've all just been reading about this in the news and on their site, and just all the different ways that the venues you're using digitally and in person to register Democrats. Beautiful. Great that though Texas fell to Trump this time by 600,000 votes, you've identified 2 million people that could be registered as Democrats. That's amazing and wonderful. And we are going to all live to see Texas turn blue.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Amen. And once that happens, that's a game. That's game, set, match. That is amazing. So thank you so much for your incredibly important, amazing work in the toughest battleground there is. That's not, I don't ever take for granted. Like being a Democrat in Texas is a little bit different than being one in LA. Yeah, I mean, that is hard. So I also just have to say real fast, by the way, I'm Jason Berlin with Field Team 6, and it is an incredible honor to have living legend Debbie Allen here and Chandra Wilson. Really, I mean, from the 3rd Ward of Houston that also gave rise to Beyonce. There must be something in the water. I got to go there to see what happens to me. Amazing. Thank you so much. And Stephanie, getting this work done in the toughest place in the country there is to do that. Yeah. So my first question, Democrats stage that. Oh, it's so good when we see Democrats have a spine. It's like, oh yes, this is what we need. When they staged that walkout and prevented that horrible anti-voter bill from being passed. My question is, can they just keep walking out forever? Is there how long can that go on?
I'm going to say no, only because this is a chess, not checkers game. And unfortunately, if we keep walking out, there are some slight ramifications that, if the governor so chooses to enforce them, would prevent them from being able to do other things that they need to do as members in the legislature. So it is amazing that they stood up and were able to have such an powerful and impactful movement. But we do want to make sure that they're still doing the work of the people and the work of their constituents. So we just have to really work smarter, not necessarily harder, but smarter on how to beat them at their own game. So that way, again, we get more voters registered.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It seems to me too that it stresses the importance of down ballot, because like when we do tend to get caught up in like just the presidential election,
Mhm.
maybe
Mhm.
the senator or maybe the representative, but
Yes.
it's the folks in the legislature.
Yes.
It's the attorney general. It's the like the lieutenant. I mean, it's like that's where all the stuff happens inside of your state. So you can't just, kind of pick and choose this one and that one. You got to go down that whole ballot. And the Democratic Party is really good about sending out like a lot of flyers and a lot of emails saying, hey, here are our recommendations. But there are also places where you can go kind of and look for yourself. And I know it gets like overwhelming sometimes because it's so many judges, so many this and that and the other. But it's so worth it because that's where all the decisions get made. The president can only do so much. And, as we see, Congress gets gridlocked and nothing happens, but all this craziness can happen right inside of your state. So you gotta vote all the way down the ballot. If you want a real representation of Texas, right? And not just what Texas wants you to think it is, like the real representation of Texas. So I'm kind of excited for that, right? To see that material come out so that people are equipped when they walk into the voting booth, if that's what they're going to do, or when they fill out their ballot to say, I know exactly who it is I'm voting for, and I'm ticking off everything. I think that's really important.
So true, Chandra. Thank you so much.
I think we also have to continue that floodgate that Barack Obama opened up of the younger voter. That's a floodgate that is still rising, that needs to get flushed out. The young people right now. And there's sometimes apathy, and we can't let that happen. Everybody has to understand how important they are. Every single solitary vote is so important. And it's when they get to feeling that they're not important, or, it's too difficult to get, all of that. If it's raining, if it's hailing outside, we got to go out there in that storm. And, you need only to remember our history to get motivated. Just remember all the people and what they've gone through over the decades and decades, a century ago. What was it? People that died just so we could vote. People died just so we could vote. Black people, white people. And so we have to, the significance of Juneteenth is certainly that, to reflect. And yes, it's Emancipation Day, but it's a day to reflect on who are we in America? Where are we going? Because of these big countries, we're the youngest. China has and India, they have ancient history. Russia, they have ancient histories that we don't have. Well, we don't acknowledge. Well, there does exist a Native American history that is quite ancient. And we have to come to terms with how we acknowledge that. It's been kind of washed away, but we're still in the making and finding out who we are as a voice and as a country. And you need only travel outside this country to see how important everything that we do, how it affects the world, it inspires the world. and makes them believe that they can do it too. It's
Mhm.
possible.
That is
Yeah,
so.
that's what I hope through this, that young people realize that they want to run for office, that it's important to be a part of that political process, that the voice does matter. I know people think that, nothing matters, nothing changes. It's because you're not in it. You got to get in it. And voting is because of that history, because of our ancestors. Voting should be a celebration. That should be
Yep.
something that people are proud to do, that people want to get up and put that ballot in or show up on voting day and celebrate. And there should be music outside and people should be dancing. Debbie Allen Dance Academy ought to be out there. We ought to be handing out water, like you know what I'm saying? It's like people are trying to stop us from celebrating
Drinking
this
water,
thing
child.
that's so important to us. It should be a celebration. And if you want your voting to be a celebration, then you got to vote down that ballot so
Yes.
these people can stop taking your water away.
That's exactly right. And the more your vote is a celebration, the more you'll have something to celebrate.
Right.
When you get the right people elected.
And I will say this
yeah.
being a young voter, when I was able to vote in my first presidential election, it actually was President Obama's first term. Unfortunately, when I graduated high school, I was 17 and that was right after Bush's second term. So I had to wait a few years before I could vote again. So it was so impactful to me, and I will forever be ingrained in my memory that the very first time I was able to vote as a Black woman was to vote for a Black president, and he actually won. It still gives me chills sometimes. And being able to talk at the time to my grandmother who was 80, and she's like, I never thought I'd be able to see that happen. And just knowing how impactful that is. And then now with the younger generation that was able to vote in this past election, being able to put the first woman in the White House as VP, you can always be a part of history just by doing your part and by casting your ballot.
Yeah, that's so true. We're a nation of high highs and low lows, and we have to remember in these low times like what we just went through, that we're capable of electing an Obama. We're capable of the popular vote electing Hillary Clinton. We're capable of deposing a would-be dictator and getting a Biden-Harris administration, and things like Tarrant County, which had not gone blue since LBJ went blue for Biden-Harris.
Yes.
And even as Stacey Abrams says, when we can't win, we lose better over time. So for example, Deborah Peoples, who we supported, and she would have been the first Black mayor of Fort Worth just now.
She's amazing.
She's amazing. She's the chair of Tarrant County Democratic Party, and part of why it went blue. She lost the first time by 14,000 votes. Just now, a few days ago, she lost again, but by 7,000 votes. Half.
Just keep moving the needle. Just keep moving it.
Do that again, and next time she wins.
Yes.
So what you were saying, Debbie, about, I just called you by your first name. That's hilarious.
Of course you can. Of course you can. Please do.
Thank you. You were talking about the youth vote, and the youth were a third of the electorate this last election. It's so important to bring them out. That's the main place that we register voters is on college campuses, especially community colleges, where, a Pew study said 60% of people who are not registered have never been asked. That's it. So we're just there to ask them. So Stephanie, my question for you is, I know in Texas, you can't come from another state and register voters in Texas. You have to live in Texas, and you have to first become a VDR, right? Voter
yes, a volunteer deputy register. Yes.
In your county, right?
That is correct. So you
talk
can't
to us
register
about that crazy system.
Yes, I'm sure I can. You can't even register somebody in another county. And when we're talking about where I'm from, the DFW Metroplex, we have several counties right here in our Metroplex alone. So I'm here in Dallas County, but I can't register somebody in Collin County. Someone from Collin County has to register you. So people don't realize how hard that makes it for people sometimes if they do not know who they can reach out to in order to get registered. Not only that, in order to become a VDR, you need to go to training. There's only 2 counties that offer these online, by the way. Then you have to pass a test. Then you get certified, but only in that one county. You have to go in person to the election official in each county that you're wanting to register voters and get certified by that county. And then once you're certified in that one county, it should only be 5 to 10 minute process in another. Okay. And then you can accept the voter registration form of a voter who lives in your county, but not a certified VDR. And then there was legislation proposed to make it even harder, like banning online training, which we need because we're still considered to be in a pandemic, and just for people's work constraints that they may have, just to make it easier to be able to let people become VDRs. So it's always, there's these different roadblocks that they keep trying to put up, but we're just going to keep pushing and tell them that, hey, we're not giving up.
That's right.
Wait, Stephanie. So just to be clear, so you can't just go online to a generic, texasvote.gov, something, and register. You have to go through a VDR in order to register to vote.
Correct.
Also, if that doesn't blow your mind enough, and Jimmy, you're right, that is sinister. It's exactly the right word. If that doesn't blow your mind enough, if you want to vote absentee, just like Stephanie said, of course, you have to be either 65 or over, disabled, out of the country. And then what you do is you submit a request for an absentee ballot request.
Yes.
That's voter suppression. That's what voter suppression looks like. It's just these extra layers of bureaucracy.
And then when Mitch McConnell was saying the other day that our Constitution already makes it illegal to discriminate, like everybody has the right to vote, but then you put in all this nonsense.
Yes.
You put in, so it's like, yeah, you have the right to vote, but you got to register the right way. So what do Texans need to know about making sure that they have registered the right way, so there's no question that when their ballot gets cast, then it is definitely counting?
I would definitely try to find your most recent voter registration card. And if you do not have one, reaching out to your local voting register or county office, because they actually handle all of the elections, and verifying the information that they have on file. And also giving yourself time to update it prior to having a primary come up or prior to having a presidential election, because a lot of times there's misinformation, and that's what happens when you get quote unquote purged from the role. And some people weren't even necessarily purged. We found out, I can again speak here for Dallas County, it's just that they had the wrong information put in. So they were at the wrong precinct voting when they should have been at another one that could have been across town. So you want to make sure that your information is updated. If you need help locating one, a lot of the DPS offices can let you know where they are as well.
Thank you.
That's great information.
Made you not to vote. That's the whole purpose, right? To make the process so daunting that you don't want to. And that's why we have to overwhelm the system with voters who have shown up, who did it right, and en masse, just overwhelm the system.
And people that voted by mail that wanted to hand deliver their ballots, just to let you know how bad it was during the 2020 election. They made it so bad here in Texas that you could only have one ballot box per the county, and it can only be in one location. But when you're talking about a county as big as Harris County that has 4.7 million people, they had one location for you to drop off your written ballot in person. Not only that, they have the same number as, I think it's Loving County. Loving County is one of Texas's smallest counties. There are only 169 people there. So how do you give the same allotment of voting boxes, not drop boxes, drop boxes are illegal, but actual voting boxes where you hand it to an election worker, then they then place the ballot in the box for you. You give the same amount for 4.7 million people that you do to 169. That makes absolutely no sense.
It does.
It discourages people from showing up.
Absolute sense.
Yeah. And
it's purposeful.
Yeah. Oh, of course. But we had people literally scared to show up to vote because we were in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, which they should, which makes all the sense in the world. So I want to thank you so much for doing this. It's seriously amazing work in Texas, and keep going. Field Team 6 is here to help. We want to help and work with the Texas Democratic Party, be a support for your efforts as much as we possibly can in any way that you need.
Jason, I'm glad you said that. Ways that Californians can actually help us here in Texas, of course, by donating, going to texasdemocrats.org. And your donations, when people ask, well, what is my money going to? Honestly, to let you know, it would hire another voter register. So that way we can pay for someone to vote and help register more people, or we could hire someone to help do more trainings on how to register more people, or hire more block walkers. So trust me, your donations are going to the right place so that we can get more boots on the ground to do a lot of the hard work. But then also following us on social media and retweeting anything that we have that we're pumping out. More visibility a lot of times when people don't know things are going on. That's how it kind of slides under the radar. But the louder your voices are, especially with a lot of you all's followers and things like that, we would really appreciate your support. Miss Allen and Miss Wilson, if you could definitely tweet or follow us on Facebook. We would love for you to, and just to be able to show your support to the party. Being from Texas, we always love to have fellow Texans cheering us on, even if it is from the West Coast. But any way that you could really just continue to push the message that voting is super important. Every vote counts. And if you need help and don't know, we're here to help and walk you through the process.
So say that the website again where people can donate.
Sure.
Say it again.
Texas spelled out. So texasdemocrats.org.
texasdemocrats.org.
Yes,
and they can use credit cards or they can mail in a check.
Yes, we use the Act Blue system. So it will allow you to donate with your credit card or your bank statement, but then also on our website, it lets you know our PO box to our headquarters office in Austin, if you would like to mail one in as well. And then you can follow us on Twitter at Texas Democrats, and you can follow our Facebook page, Texas Democratic Party.
Excellent, which has all the great information about your voter registration projects. And I'm just going to do a lightning pitch for Field Team 6, just to talk about what we've been doing and ways we can help in Texas. And I want to continue to be in touch with you about what you need and how we can best support.
Sure. And I actually don't mind publicly sharing my email. If you all have any more questions or want to find more ways to get involved, let me give you my email address. It's sclark@txdemocrats.org. So S is in Sam, Clark at txdemocrats.org.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's so inspiring and encouraging to see just such a good comprehensive plan. It's wonderful. So Field Team 6, the way we got started is after the Trump election, I, like all of us, went into mourning, and I had been a writer for 18 years, but I needed to change that. Like all of us, we all changed our lives in ways huge and small, jumped into volunteering with the resistance full time. Worked with Swing Left, then the California Democratic Party, and the army that we rallied, which was 70 to 100% women, depending on the day, just to give credit where it's due. Was able to register 6,000 Democrats in Southern California, help do our part to swing 5 swing districts and take the House in 2018. Right after that, we formed Field Team 6 with the goal, register Democrats, save the world. That's our explicit stated mission. And with the idea that we'd go big and see what we could do in what kind of good trouble we could get into in 11 target states, And we were able to, through in-person voter drives until COVID, and then after COVID, doing that pivot that Stephanie talked about, where of necessity, we cracked the nut of digital voter outreach. It's great to hear a fellow organizer, of cracking that nut, like of doing emails, social media ads, text banking, phone banking, social media storms, even geofencing, to get the word out. And what we wound up doing was helping register almost 3 million Democrats in swing states.
Wow.
That blows my mind. That is all only possible because of every single volunteer and volunteer organizer and volunteer staff member and donor. Everybody who contributed made that happen. And so now our goal, that we all of us all together, and huge special thanks, majority of the thanks goes to organizers of color and voters of color for saving this country and the world just now. 3 times, midterms 2020 and Georgia 2021. We bought America 2 more years of oxygen, and still democracy hangs by a thread. We have a 0-seat majority in the Senate. If the Republicans take 5 seats in the House in the midterms, they flip it. We can't let that happen. The only thing to do is defy history, defy the trends that say Republicans will take that back in the midterms, and get more people registered to vote, more Democrats registered to vote, especially in swing states, especially in Texas and places like that, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Nevada. And instead of losing Senate, build on our majorities, get more senators so we don't need Manchin and Sinema, get more reps in the House so we can pass bolder things in the House. Pass exactly, Chandra, pass the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. Those are the things that would really save our democracy. Restore the Voting Rights Act that was gutted by John Roberts in 2013, and protect our right to vote, expand the right to vote by mail, and make it necessary, make it mandatory, even in Texas, that every voter has the equal freedom to vote and able to, ability to get their voice heard. So the way that we're doing this in these 8 target states, these are our 8 states. That is not, yes, there it is. The way we're doing it is through through phone banks, text banks, social media storms that are free and fun. They happen every Wednesday. Just the last one we did this last week, we got 11 million impressions. And what we're doing is posting on Twitter and Facebook assets, pushing the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, and also pushing more specific things like getting the word out about Deborah Peoples until this runoff 6 days ago.
Yes.
Just spreading the word about good candidates and important elections. So we're also doing postcarding. We're very lucky that Shepard Fairey has given us 8 images to use in our postcarding campaigns. So you can check that out on our website. All these opportunities are available on our website under volunteer ops. You can use these postcards, which have a QR code that takes you to our custom website for voterizer.org, which is the fastest way to register a Democrat. It's a proudly partisan site. We're a proudly partisan organization. And or you can use your own postcards, whatever is easiest. So yes, please check out what we're doing. Help us register Democrats in Texas and these other crucial states. I want to shout out right now our volunteer of the month, who is on this call right now. Her name is Deb Verla. She has her screensaver image up, her avatar. Hey, there she is. She leads all our social media storms. She's an amazing trainer, and just recently broke her wrist, got a titanium plate in it, and now, like RoboCop, she came back and led her first social media storm anyway with it, typing with her other hand. Thank you so much. Bionic Deb. She will not let a broken wrist stop the fight for democracy. So thank you, Deb. And 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 thank you so much, Chandra, and thank you, Debbie, and thank you, Stephanie, thank you, Jeff and Zoe and Gab and Don Foster and Gina Cirone for being the host committee, putting this on, and our technical team, thank you. And I want to hand it over now, and thank you for listening to me talk for too long when there's other people who you want to hear much more. And I'm going to hand it back to Zoe right now, who can tell us how we're doing and who won the raffle.
Hi, everybody. Oh my gosh, this has been such a treat and a pleasure to listen to. I mean, thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Chandra. Thank you, Stephanie. What an informative, enlightening, funny, beautiful talk this has been. Okay, so I am here to let you know that we still have, thank you, Gab, who's scared of the camera, but is there for a minute, is showing off the shoes, and we're still gonna have those up for auction at our next event, which, by the way, we are going to feature a new state each month in our, swing state foray, and Texas, we are so happy to have as our inaugural state, and we're going to keep fighting for Texas throughout all of these different events that we host. Now, I think I'm getting some updates. Okay. Also, just letting you know that we are now up to $4,002 in our fundraising. Thank you all so much to everyone who has contributed thus far. We so appreciate it. There's still time. There's still time to buy raffle tickets. Because we can still buy raffle tickets at these next events. And I believe I might be getting a winner for tonight's t-shirt and button sent to me soon. But while I wait for that, maybe I could just open the floor up to Debbie and Chandra, if you guys have any last thoughts, questions.
I just think, I'm just happy that we're here and that we're starting with Texas, because we got to, take the bull by the horns. And Texas is a big state that has so much more promise and more possibility than what we're seeing right now. We've got to get people elected that make sense, that are not ready to go and bomb the moon to change the climate on the earth. I mean, we got...
Yeah.
Okay.
That.
Not have that.
Just that.
Our last president tried to buy Greenland.
He did. He was serious about that. He was serious about that. Yeah, we just can't take it for granted. And I know that a lot of us, especially because Obama was elected twice, figure that, we good. We're going in the
No.
right direction.
No.
Nobody's going to vote for Trump anyway, so we're good. And it could so easily all go down the drain. When I watched today's coverage of the G7 and just the collective sigh of relief our world leaders are having with Biden in the room, just it's like coming out of some kind of a trance or something.
Yeah.
I feel for people when they really realize what all went down, and folks who were kind of supporting this madness, when they really figure out what's happened. But empathy is going to run through. We're going to embrace folks, and we're going to take care of them, and we're going to say, now we did that. Now let's go forward and do what's right.
Yes.
So register, make sure all your friends are registered, make sure you're checking back, like Stephanie told us to make sure that you know exactly where it is you're going to vote. Vote in all of the small elections, vote in your school board elections, vote on all of, local, any of the the ones that come up when somebody leaves the seat. What do you call that? the special elections, they all matter. The people that show up and get in sometimes just get in by default because nobody voted. So we need to make sure that people that are getting in are people that really have all of the constituents in mind and not just a few. So let's do, we've learned our lesson, right? So now let's do what we're supposed to do.
All right.
So well said, both of
Well
you.
said.
Thank you so much. Last thing I'll say, our raffle winner for this evening, Sam McKay. Sam, you're gonna get a shirt, you're getting a button, and you're still in the running for some shoes. All right, Jason, I'll let you take it away.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, here's a weird side effect of COVID. My dog knows when Zoom calls are winding down. We didn't say goodbye. We didn't say any trigger words. He knows. He knows. Bizarre. Thank you so much. This has been an incredible honor. I loved everything you said. Debbie, Chandra, what you said about being like having empathy as a living, how artists relate to other people. It's gorgeous. It's so beautiful and profound. And yeah, I love it. Love it. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for supporting this and for doing what you do. You're amazing. Yeah. Keep going. Keep going. Thank you all.
Thank you so much
for being here.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies.